Bro.
Hi, Ruven. Shalom. Good evening. So, good evening for everybody. Today we're going to learn the first 15 minutes Pirkei Avos with the Rambam, the Pirush of the Rambam. Then we'll learn the Maamar of the Rebbe, continuation from previous weeks. So, this is a very famous Mishnah in Avos, and it says, Hu aya omer, im en ani li mili, right? וכשאני לעצמי מאני, ואם לא עכשיו מעשיי. He used to say, this is Hillel. Hillel said, I'm just going to go back a little bit by the Mishnah. Hillel.
He's very famous.
Hillel said, if I am not for myself, who is for me? But if I am for my own self only, what am I? And if not now, when? So we're going to go and learn what the Rambam says about it. And what's interesting is that just to recall that the Rambam learns Pirkei Avos in a unique way in which a person has to aspire for the superiority of intellect and the superiority of behavior, of character. So we always want to go to the best character. And as we know that the best character is the mediocre character. It's not the either extreme, it's the mediocre. So what does Rambam says about that? So Rambam says, Amar, im lo ehe ani be'atzmi ha'me'orer nafshi lemala mi yeira. He said, if I myself will not be the one that arouses my soul to virtue, who will arouse me? So the virtue is what we spoke about, the character, right? To have better character. That is the virtue. So if I will not, who will do it? As I have no one to stimulate me from the outside. Like we have elucidated in the second chapter, which is the second chapter from the 8 chapters of the Rambam, which is the introduction to Pirkei Avos. So Rambam says, and since it is in my power to incline my soul to any side that I want, what deed have I done for my good deed? It is as if he is questioning himself and saying, what am I? This is to say, what is becoming of me? I am not complete even if I did this matter, meaning even if I got the superiority of character. Let's say somebody who is generous. Somebody who is chesed, somebody who is depriving himself from the pleasure of the world and aspiring to have pleasure from Hashem. So even if I did that and I achieved it, then what am I? Okay, meaning, and afterwards he went back and said, I don't acquire these traits now in the days of my youth. When will I acquire them? Okay, and he answers, not in the day of old age, as it is difficult to veer from one's characteristics at that time, because the acquisition of the traits have hardened and settled, whether these are virtues or whether they are vices. Vices, how do you pronounce?
Virtue or vices?
Vices.
Yeah, vices.
And the wise one said, educate a youth according to his way, and he will also not veer from it when he gets old. So, as we say that the Lubavitcher Rebbe wanted doctors to learn this and teach it to our patients. Why? Because we have people who come to us, and most of what we talk about is not just the blood pressure, but it is their behavior, right? It is the behavior. And in medicine, the Rambam writes, it's not in this Mishnah, but in the introduction to Pirkei Avos, he writes, even a physician or even if a person does everything right according to medicine, what is that? What is the purpose of that? Is the purpose to be healthy for what? He says is to be healthy, to have settled mind, to acquire these virtues, to acquire good character, to acquire good knowledge, to learn more, to do more. Okay, so the earlier we do something, the better it's going to be instilled in us, and the later we do it, it's going to be much harder for us to do. Okay, and so this is what the Rambam says. Any questions or any points to say?
No.
No, it just reminds me of when we're dealing with a disease, the earlier the intervention, the most likely the better the outcome.
Okay, right.
So disease can be attitude and traits also.
Yes. Michael or Reuven, you have any comments?
No, I think it's very understandable.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
pretty good.
Okay, so let's go to the next Mishnah. The next Mishnah, Shammai says, so his brother Shammai says, Aseh soras hakva, make your study of Torah a fixed practice, speak little, but do much, and receive all men with a pleasant countenance. Okay, so in the introduction, the Rambam writes that it is really required of all of us to acquire knowledge, and the knowledge can be from anything you want in the world. Okay, I mean, I'm 50, some of you are 60, some of you are 70. At any age, the Rambam writes, every day we have to acquire new knowledge. Now, Baruch Hashem, with internet, it's so easy to learn new knowledge, right? But back then, you had to go to a place to learn, open a book. Now it's easy. But the knowledge is not just knowledge of Torah. It's knowledge of everything. Everything we acquire knowledge, new knowledge, open the horizons. Within all the knowledge in the world, which is the best knowledge, which is the most important, is Torah. Because Torah is the knowledge of Hashem. And Hashem created the world. Everything in the world that we can learn about is important. It's going to only enhance our understanding of Hashem. But when Shammai says, Aseh toratcha kva, see what the Rambam writes. He said, to make Torah study the center and the main thing, and your other affairs secondary to it. Whether they turn up or whether they're not turn up, since there is no damage from their absence. Okay? What does it mean? Everything else you will do, whether you're able to achieve it or not, is not so important. Whatever is most important is to learn Torah.
Everything else is extraneous.
Everything else is going to come around. It's going to turn around. And they said, the righteous, the tzaddik, say little and do much, like our father Abraham, who designated one loaf of bread and brought curds of milk and a calf, and 3 seah of fine flour. And evildoers on the opposite, says the opposite, they say much and do not eat and don't do even a little, like Ephron, who gave everything away in his words to Abraham. Oh, he take it for free, take the land for free, but in practice did not even leave one small coin from the purchase price. He asked for everything from Abraham. So we see what the Rambam explains, that Torah study should be our main concern, and that goes along what he's teaching, that we always have to learn more at whatever age. And I can tell you that since I learned this, one of my practice in medicine is to teach patients, Jews and non-Jews. You have to learn new things. You have to listen to music, and not music just for pleasure, music that will educate you. Learn something new about the world. Okay? And obviously with Yidden, I talk about Torah, to learn Torah. It's so easy now to learn Torah. But those things, is not age limited. It's not just for the young, even though the young is the most effective, because then you're going to acquire good characteristics. Let's go to the continuation of the Mishnah. He says, and you should see everybody with sefer panim yafot, with a pleasant countenance. That is, when he interacts with the creatures calmly and with pleasant and welcome words. So those are the characteristics that the Rambam expects from a righteous person. Okay,
especially you see this with Abraham in relation to people coming to him, guests. That was one of his larger traits.
That's right.
Larger
That's
traits.
right. Okay, and then we're gonna just do one more Mishnah, and then we'll go to the Sikha. Okay, and this is, I mean, it's a very long Rambam. It's about 3 pages. We will read a little bit of it, and then we're gonna move on. Shimon, Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel, Shimon was a tzaddik. Ibno says, Kol yamai gadalti ben hachachamim. All my days I grew up among the sages, and I have found nothing better for a person than silence. Study is not the most important thing, but actions. Whoever indulges in too many words bring about sin. Now, let's analyze that. Look what he says. He says, Shimon was a tzaddik. He grew among the sages, and sages, what do they speak? Divrei Torah. And nevertheless, what does he say? I found nothing better for a person than silence. Rambam, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, everybody asked about this Mishnah. How is that possible? How is it possible to be among sages? And what did you learn from them? To be quiet? That doesn't make sense. You should learn from them to teach Torah. There are so much things you can learn from them, right? Why is it that he says the best thing is silence? And we see that repeatedly in other places, that silence is the best characteristics. So we're going to go through Rambam. I mean, you have the link in the invitation I sent you, but I'm going to show you. It's a very, very long Rambam, but I'm just going to summarize read the first one, and then we'll go through it. The wise one has already stated, with many words, there is no lack of transgression. And the reason for this is that most words are superfluity and sin, as I will elucidate now. So Rambam is quoting the Amoira and says, as when a man increases his words, he will certainly transgress, since it is impossible that there will not be in his words one word that is not fit to say. And one of the things the wise man is minimization of words. And one of the signs of a foolish is the multitude of words. As the joke goes, that they ask Shlomo HaMelech, you say that a wise man is quiet and a foolish man talks. What happens if a foolish man is quiet? So Shlomo HaMelech answers, a fool man cannot be quiet. That's what it is. So a fool man cannot be quiet. So the sages have already said that minimization of words is proof of the high virtue of the forefathers. And when a man was pedigreed, they would say the pedigreed one of Babylonia is the quiet one. Okay, and it is said in the book of characteristics. Okay, so obviously there is a book of characteristics that was present in the time of the Rambam. Book of characteristics means nowadays we also have some people who write a book of characteristics, but it's not the book that the Rambam is talking about. The book that the Rambam is talking about, we don't have it now. We don't find it. I search for it because, probably we would like to see the characteristics and learn from them. I asked there is a Gaon here in Yeshiva, his name is Rabbi Kraziansky. I asked him, he says probably those years they had to write the books with hand. And if book wasn't popular, they didn't keep on writing it. So it probably lost track. But there was a book of character that one of the sages was seen to be silent since he did not say speech that was not fitting to speak, and he only spoke very little. And they say to him, "What is the reason for your great silence?" And he said, "I have examined all speech and I found it divided into 4 divisions." Okay. I'm sorry, I jumped for a second. So into 4 divisions. I just want to say, to save our time, he divided into 4 divisions, but the Rambam in a minute will say, I think that there are 5 divisions. So he said this Amora, this sage, says 4 divisions, and he says the first division is a speech which is completely injurious, without benefit, like the people who are cursing, vulgarity, and similar to them, that to speak with them is completely idiocy. Okay. A second division is injurious speech. Okay, it's going to cause you injury.
But they use the word injurious to begin with. In the first one, it's completely injurious.
Right.
So I guess we need to hear more of what would be
Okay,
the
so-
additional difference.
So this is injurious on the one side, but beneficial on the other side. Okay, but it's an injurious speech, like the praise of a man to gain benefit for him. Like you praise somebody used to flatter him, not because you really believe in that. But in that praise will be that which will anger his enemy, and so speech will injure the one being praised. And one should refrain from speech because of this reason. The third reason is words that have no benefit and no injury, like most of the speech of the masses. How tall was the building? How was a hall was built? Or the telling of the beauty of a house or the beauty of a country. It's a regular speech. It doesn't benefit anybody, but it doesn't harm anybody. And the fourth division are words that are completely beneficial, like speech about the wisdom and about the virtues, and the speech of a person about what's specific to him. So what we are doing right now is
The fourth one.
the fourth one, right? Because we speak about the benefit of wisdom. Okay, so Rambam says, and I'm going to jump a little bit, and said, and Rambam said, and I say that speech is divided into 5 parts according to the Torah obligation, because Rambam is looking at it from the Torah obligation. This first one is we are commanded about it. It's a speech which is learning Torah. It's a commandment. We have to speak. The second level of speech, we are warned against it. Okay.
We're warned against what?
Okay, let's read it. A speech that is forbidden, and that is we are warned against about false testimony. Okay, tale bearing, cursing. So that's you are told not to say, and people still say. And the words of Torah teach about this division. Okay, the third part is the disgusting that has no benefit to man for himself, but is not a sinful and not rebellious, like the speech of the masses about what happened and what was, and what are the customs of this king, and how does his chamber look like, etc.
How is that different than the previous one? I forget
No,
what number.
it's not really different.
Yeah.
And then the major difference comes here. Then there is the fourth division, is the speech which is beloved. And that is speech in praise of intellectual virtues or dispositional virtues, and in disgrace of both type of vice, to awaken the soul to the virtues with stories and songs, and to prevent the vices in these same ways. And also to praise the distinguished and to acknowledge their virtue, so that their practices be valued in the eyes of people, and that they walk in their ways, and to disgrace the bad about their vices, so that their action and their memory be disgraced in the eyes of people, and that they distance themselves from them and not act according to their practices. And this division, meaning to say study of the virtuous traits and distancing from the traits of vice, is called derech eretz. So when we always says derech eretz kadma Torah, the Rambam here defines what derech eretz is. Derech eretz is the study of virtuous traits and distancing from the opposite. Okay, and the fifth division has to do actually with physician. The fifth division is the permissible and is the speech about what is specific to a person, about his business, about his livelihood, his food, his drink, his clothing.
Counsel.
Yeah.
Counsel.
Yeah. And it is permissible. It is, I mean, it is not beloved and it's not disgusting. Rather, if he wants, he can speak about what he wants to of it. And if he wants, he will not speak. And with this division, a person is praiseworthy when he minimizes his speaking of it. Okay? Because you like it, you'll tend to speak more and more about it. So the Rambam says it will be praiseworthy if you will minimize that kind of speech. And the men of ethics have warned about increasing words in it. But the forbidden and the disgusting does not require a warning nor a commandment, as it is fitting to be completely silent from it. However, the commanded and beloved speech, if a person could speak in it all of his days, it would be good. However, one must be careful about two things. The one is that his deeds match his words. And they says, pleasant are the words that come out of the mouth of one who does them. And about this matter did he intend in his saying, and the exposition of Torah is not what is essential, but the action. And the sages say to a righteous one that specifically he teach the virtues in their saying, expound, and for you it is fit to expound. And the prophet stated, rejoice, righteous one, in the Lord, for the straight is praised beautiful. So he gives more examples. Okay, I told you it's a very, very long paragraph. We're not going to go through it. He brings a lot of examples to support his ideas. Okay, so you can, I mean, if you want, we can learn it later. Okay, any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay, so I want to go to learn the Maamar of the Rebbe. Okay,
but I'm not sure he answered the question that you said at the beginning, that like what's like you're amongst sages and all you can find is shetika. It doesn't talk about shetika per se. It talks about speech, but it doesn't talk about shetika.
Okay, well, he did answer it. I mean, we did answer it. The answer is that
there's different forms of speech, some that are permissible, some that are not. But how is shetika built into this?
According to my understanding, it is built into it that if there are 5 types of speech, the one speech which is a mitzvah is Torah. And even the sages do not speak Torah all the time. And they speak things which they like to, like we said, it is the 5th types of speech. Like you speak about things which you do every single day. So you tend to speak more also about that. And from those things you should be quiet. But from Torah speech, you should speak as much as you can. But from the sages, he learned that there are also things that you need to talk about, which are your personal things, the things that you like. Like, let's say we speak medicine, right? We talk all day medicine with our patients. We give so much advice. It's important. But we also need to realize that there should be a limit to it. We can't just speak it all day long. There has to be a limit to what we like to talk about.
Okay.
Shtika does not mean not to say anything, It's mean to say less of what you like, of what you have pleasure talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, just to say something interesting. So, so here in this Mishnah, he says, and I have found nothing better for a person than silence, right? So the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe once expressed himself, and he said that he reads this pasuk differently. And he says, I have found nothing better for a person, comma, than silence. I mean, the silence is not good. So the previous Rebbe said, I have found nothing better for a person from being quiet. Not to be quiet, but from being quiet. So he obviously said that he doesn't really agree with it. He doesn't really agree with it. He really thinks that really we should speak and we should influence other people.
Saying the secular match to this is actions speak louder than words.
Okay.
You've heard that?
Yes.
It's an American saying. Actions speak louder than words. Because here it says, better for a person than silence, period. Study is not the most important thing, but actions. Whoever indulges in too many words brings best. In other words, action is more of a priority than the words, because the words don't do anything unless they're to help somebody.
I found this.
And that for the benefit of someone else,
Yes.
not the benefit of the person who's speaking.
Well, again, it's a hard Mishnah, and I told you the Rambam writes a lot about it. I'm not sure I'll be able to cover and explain it to you, but what I will do, I learned the Sikha of the Rebbe about it. I don't remember what the Rebbe said, but I'm gonna read it again, summarize it, and put it here on the chat. I'll send it to you. But it's a very good question. It's a very good question, and obviously everybody's asking it. Why should you be quiet, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I know. So because
I mean, Chofetz Chaim is all of those issues. So don't even open your mouth so you don't make a mistake.
yeah. Okay, let's just do 5 minutes of the Maamar and then we'll finish, okay? So, Michael, we were learning this Maamar previously. We are now in the 5th chapter. I'll summarize you the Maamar in few sentences. The pasuk says that let me just go to the first.
I saw the pasuk. It's Borei Niv Sfatayim, Shalom Shalom Larok Velakarov. Amar Hashem Ufatim.
Exactly. Okay. So the Rebbe explains that this sentence requires some explanation. What does it mean to create speech? Okay. So and so it speaks about Baalei, and why are Baalei Tshuva higher than Tzaddikim? What is so unique about the Baal Tshuva? So let's read here. We're gonna we read this paragraph last week, but it was very difficult, so we're gonna read it again. It is possible to add, and this additional concept is important, for the matter to be explained is a matter of necessity for the entire generation as a whole, and for many individuals in a personal sense. So the Rebbe writes here, and I want to emphasize, the Rebbe writes that this is a matter for our generation. Okay, our generation, the generation of the Rebbe, and we are continuing.
Necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
what is that? The meaning of the phrase, I will heal him, is that the healing will be accomplished by Hashem, by God. In general, healing, even healing when comes about through an intermediary, a human being, meaning a physician, emanates from God. And God says, in this instance, since the healing is drawn down directly from God himself, I, God, am your healer. It causes that, as the above verse continue, all illness I will not place upon you. This means not merely that God will heal illness, but God will prevent illness from occurring from the very outset. Okay, so Hashem will prevent any disease from occurring in this world. Moreover, and the Rebbe is talking about this not when Mashiach comes, right now. This is not when Mashiach comes, before Mashiach comes. Now, our generation. Moreover, even when the healing accomplished by Ani Hashem Rofecha, I, God, am your healer, come for various reasons after an undesirable event took place. The healing can be completed without leaving a trace of infirmity, causing it to appear as if this disability never took place. When healing is accomplished by a human being, firstly, the healing is only in regard to the future, and also even afterwards, a trace of infirmity remains. When by contrast, the healing comes from I am God your healer, the infirmity is
directly
is removed as if it never was. We are going to learn in this Maamar how are we able to achieve that level of healing that it comes directly from Hashem. Sixth paragraph. The previous Rebbe's Maamar continues, focusing on the fact that the verse states, says God, I will heal him, Amar Hashem. After it states, peace to those who are far. This indicates that since originally the person was far removed from Hashem, even when he comes close to Hashem through Teshuvah, a service initiated by the person himself, and after he has been granted peace through divine influence diffused from above, he must still be healed. This healing comes about through Torah study. And this is the allusion in the phrase, says God, I will heal him. Amar Hashem, when we say says God, the Rebbe comes to say here that when we people speak Torah, that we say God. What do you mean it says God? When we speak Torah, we say Hashem said. Then what Hashem says. Healing comes about through says God, meaning having God's speech, the letters of Torah engraved in one memory. Okay, so when we learn Torah and the Torah is engraved in our memory, that is what makes it a healing that's coming from above. Okay. I'm not sure how much time we have left. We're at 3.5 minutes. Okay. Also noteworthy is that the Maamar statement that Torah study brings about healing applies also to actual physical healing, as it is written, the Torah, is balm to one's entire flesh. Accordingly, it is possible to explain that the concept explained above, section 5, we just read it, that the healing which comes about because says God, I will heal him, and which leaves no trace of infirmity, wiping away the disability as if it never took place, applies also, listen to this, also when the healing granted by God comes through the medium of a mortal doctor who heals using medications. Okay, listen to that. This is a chiddush of the Rebbe. It's a chiddush of the Rebbe. It was never here before. That we as physicians are able to grant healing through medication like Hashem directly. How is it possible? The Torah controls all existence, including the existence of healing, medical knowledge, and also the very phenomena of healing itself. Accordingly, we can understand that it is within the power of the Torah for even healing that is administered by a mortal using medication and the like to leave no trace of infirmity and to wipe away the disability as if it never took place.
How does the doctor do this? I mean, we know that
Through
the doctor makes a keli to receive.
Okay, but it's
the
not the
bracha
doctor.
from
It's
Hashem.
not a doctor. It's the patient does it. The
Um,
patient will do it through the doctor will give them medication. But if the patient
Has to
will
connect.
do tshuva and will speak divrei Torah, this will make the medication will act on him as if it is the medicine of Hashem himself. Even in regard to healing through ordinary means, there are times when treatment removes the infirmity entirely. This, however, is unusual. It's unusual. And the medical treatment that are generally available do leave a trace of infirmity. Nevertheless, the fact that such treatment does exist makes it easier to comprehend how the power of the Torah can cause the medical treatment that is commonly available to be affected to the extent that it does not leave any trace of infirmity. Okay, guys, we have 1 minute on this Zoom meeting. I think it's a very powerful message. We can talk about it for a long time, but you can read it also yourself, and we'll meet next week.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
Shabbos.
Very
Good
powerful.
Shabbos. Very nice.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, right? The Rebbe writes it. It's a chiddush of the
I mean,
Rebbe.
I never heard this.
You never heard it before.
No.
Neither do I before I learned this Maamar. Like
I want a copy of that.
I
I've got to share this with other doctors.
That's why I'm doing the shiur.